My family banned me from our harvest festival, claiming I'm too serious. I'm Clara, exhausted from 14 hours at the Salem archive with a fruit tart cooling. What I did next shocked them. Where are you watching? And what time is it? Share below. My phone buzzes. Evan's name appears on the screen, and I press the speaker button while hanging my autumn jacket. Hey, sis. His voice carries that casual lilt that always precedes bad news. Got a minute? Just got home from shift. I adjust the heat on the fruit tart, reducing it to warm. Everything okay? Yeah, about the harvest festival? A pause, the kind that makes my stomach clench. Lila's coming this year. Oh, the spoon in my hand trembles slightly. That's nice. I've been looking forward to meeting her. Thing is, she's a little sensitive too. Heavy energy. The spoon clatters against the countertop. What? Maybe it's better if you sit this one out. Blood rushes in my ears. My fingers grip the counter edge. You're uninviting me to the Harvest Festival, our family festival? Every year you sit there all serious, barely talking. His words tumble out faster now. Mom says it brings the mood down. Lila's new. I don't want her to feel uncomfortable. My gaze drifts to the suitcase by my door, packed for the visit I've spent weeks planning. I see. Don't be like that, Clara. You know how you get. The fruit tart's sweet aroma turns cloying. I switch off the heat completely. How I get? I repeat, each word precise as a catalog entry. Yeah, you know, alt librarian mode. Too intense. I have to go. I end the call, my hands steady, despite the tremors running through my chest. An hour passes in a blur of mindless tidying. When my phone rings again, Mom's name flashes on the screen. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but habit wins out. Hi, Mom. Honey. Her voice drips sweetness, the kind that coats bitter pills. Evan told me you're upset. Did he tell you why? We just think. She pauses, and I hear the shift in her tone, the one she uses when talking about Lila, bright with admiration I've never heard directed at me. It might cause tension if you come. We may not answer the door. My fingers trace the edge of a perfectly wrapped present, a silk shawl I spent 4 extra shifts to afford. You're actually doing this? Don't be dramatic, dear. There's always next year. Maybe if you tried harder to be more festive. The words settle like lead in my stomach. 15 years of too serious, too quiet, not fun enough crash over me. I think of my archive patrons, how their eyes light up when I find their requested documents, how they thank me for listening, for caring, for seeing them as people instead of problems. I don't argue, don't plead. My banking app opens with a few taps. $1,500. 0 cents monthly rent support for my parents. Canceled. $5,000, 0 cents. Photography studio loan to Evan. Terminated. $3,000, 0 cents for Mom's hip surgery rehabilitation. Stopped. No announcement, no explanation, just the quiet click of buttons. The kitchen table welcomes me, surrounded by Harvest Festival preparations that suddenly feel hollow. Steam rises from my mint tea, curling in the soft glow of festival lights. I should cry, should rage, should feel something beyond this strange floating sensation. A text lights up my phone. Happy Harvest Festival early, honey. We'll figure this out next year. I set the phone face down and watch rain blanket Salem in silence. For the first time in years, I feel lighter. Empty, yes, but lighter. The presents can go to my archive patrons. The fruit tart will make the staff break room smell like home tomorrow. And I will finally stop trying to buy my way into a family that never had room for me at their table. Rain blankets Salem on Harvest Festival morning, muffling the world outside my apartment windows. The mantel stands dark, its cheerful lights unplugged since that phone call. Through the glass, early sunlight catches raindrops, turning them into prisms that scatter rainbow fragments across my living room walls. My work clothes rustle as I tuck the last wrapped present into the hall closet. No point keeping them out now. The soft wool of the silk shawl I bought Mom brushes against my hand as I push the door shut. My phone buzzes with another round of messages from coworkers. Sophie from cataloging invited me to her family dinner. Mr. Larson left a voicemail about the staff gathering in the break room later. Even the evening shift assistant sent a video of their potluck celebration. I swipe away the notifications and open the family group chat. My thumb hovers over the screen. Photos flood my feed. Evan carving the ham, his sleeve rolled up to show the tattoo I paid to have removed twice. Mom's vintage porcelain glinting under lamplight. The set I helped her track down piece by piece on Craigslist. Lila in the center of every shot, wine glass raised. Her laugh seeming to echo through the screen. A text from Mom pops up. Happy Harvest Festival, honey. We'll see you next year, maybe. The phone slips into my pocket as I grab my library ID badge. Work feels more like home today anyway. An hour later, the community archive greets me with the familiar scent of old books and the soft hum of computers. Mrs. Kim waves from her reading nook as I pass, her arthritis-twisted fingers clutching a tattered journal. Mr. Delgado dozes at a table, the printer murmuring nearby. Miss Elliot. Edith Harper catches my wrist as I adjust her research material. Her paper-thin skin feels cool against my hand. You're the only family some of us have today. I squeeze her fingers gently. Then I'm exactly where I need to be. The morning passes in a blur of small moments, organizing files, listening to stories of festivals from 40 years ago, guiding trembling hands through database searches. The staff brings me coffee, dark and strong, leaving it outside reading rooms where they know I'll find it. You didn't have to work today, Clara. The head archivist, Marianne, says as she hands me a reference request. Thompson volunteered to cover. This is better than sitting home alone. Her eyes soften with understanding. She's seen enough family dynamics in this archive to read between the lines. Margaret Jensen in the history section asked for you specifically. Margaret sits propped against a study carrel, gray hair neatly braided, a small autumn's wreath glowing on her desk. She pats the chair beside her. You look like someone carrying a heavy weight today. My professional mask slips for just a moment. Margaret catches it. She never misses much. Family isn't always blood, Miss Elliot. She adjusts her reading glasses. My son hasn't spoken to me in 25 years because I wouldn't give him money for another failed tech venture. The hardest lesson is learning that blood doesn't always mean love. Across town, I imagine the scene in my parents' house. The dishes will be done by now. Evan always times the cleanup to finish before the evening movie marathon. He'll be showing Lila the photo wall, pointing out vacation snapshots and award portraits. That's when it happens. That's Ms. Clara Elliott. Lila's voice rises in recognition as she stops at my library certification photo. The room goes quiet. She saved my great-uncle's research project. The silence stretches as she continues, wine glass forgotten in her hand. My great-uncle said she was the first archivist who made him feel like his work mattered, not just a patron. Eben shifts his weight, that nervous tell I've known since childhood. Hey, who wants to watch It's a Wonderful Life? But Lila's gaze lingers on the photo, on the sister who should be there. The questions form in her eyes as she looks around the room, noticing the empty chair, the careful way everyone avoids mentioning my name. Later, she'll corner Evan in the kitchen. Where's your sister? Why isn't she here? He'll fumble through explanations about my intensity and Lila's sensitivity. Each word will plant seeds of doubt, of realization. The family's facade will crack just a little more. Days later, Lila's social media post appears. To Miss Clara Elliott, who saved my great-uncle with exceptional care and compassion. Thank you for your sacrifice working this harvest festival while others celebrate. You represent the best of archival work. The post spreads through Salem's tight-knit community. Book club members recognize Evan's last name. Mom's knitting circle whispers over their needles. Dad's tennis buddies ask pointed questions about his archivist daughter. The family's carefully constructed image begins to crumble, one shared post at a time. Same days, later, back in the community archive, I hold Margaret's hand as she drifts to sleep. The autumn wreath drops a golden leaf onto her desk. Outside her window, the sun sets behind the Willamette Valley hills, painting the rain-soaked peaks in shades of amber and violet. My phone stays silent in my pocket. No more family photos, no more forced holiday cheer, just the quiet certainty that I'm exactly where I belong, with people who see me, value me, appreciate the gift of presence over presence. Sometimes strangers recognize the truth that family refuses to see. Sometimes the kindness of patrons heals the archivist. Sometimes festival miracles come wrapped not in shiny paper, but in the simple recognition of worth. 3 weeks after the incident, rain blankets Salem in bitter gray as my phone lights up for the 25th time this month. Evan's name flashes on the screen, accompanied by a bank notification. Payment failed. Photography studio loan. I delete his message without reading it. Just like the others, cluttering my inbox. Can you reach out to Lila? Clear things up? Evan's losing client contracts. Your father's tennis buddies are asking questions. The steady tick of my kitchen clock fills the silence as I sip mint tea, watching more rain gather on my balcony flowers. Dead now. Like so many other things this fall. A formal letter arrives from my father, the heavyweight paper carrying his consulting firm's letterhead. The words swim before my eyes. Concerns about your increased working hours, signs of professional burnout. My fingers crease the paper's edge. Hard work that week, Lydia from HR catches me between patron requests. Miss Elliott, your father called about arranging a mental health leave. She studies my face with careful concern. I told him all leave requests need to come from the archivist directly. I thank her, my voice steady. In my office, I open the bottom drawer and add his letter to a growing file labeled documentation. 7 years of canceled checks, loan agreements, and payment records nestle beneath it. My cousin Ellie sends a text with a meditation retreat voucher. In case you're feeling overwhelmed, sweetie, everyone's worried. The same cousin who borrowed $3,500 0 cents last summer and never mentioned it again. The next few days also bring more concerns about my mental health, but I just brush it off, focusing on work more. Thursday afternoon brings an unexpected visitor. Lila stands in the archive corridor, clutching a bouquet of autumn roses. Her designer sneakers click against the tile as she shifts her weight. I didn't know you weren't invited to the Harvest Festival. Her voice carries none of Evan's practiced charm. They talk about you like you're some distant relative. But my great-uncle can't stop praising the archivist who finally listened to him. I maintain my professional distance, hands clasped behind my back. The flowers she holds remind me of the decorations I'd bought for the family dinner I never attended. Evan told me he supports your career. Lila's mouth twists. He made it sound like he was the responsible older brother looking out for his kid sister. I paid for his photography studio. The words fall like rain, soft but cold. And their rent, and mom's hip surgery. Lila's fingers tighten on the bouquet stems. He never said. All those dinners at expensive cafes, the client showcases, her voice trails off as understanding dawns. They used your money to exclude you. Before I can respond, my tablet buzzes. Mrs. Jensen in the genealogy section needs attention. Excuse me? I murmur, already moving toward my patron. Some responsibilities matter more than others. Saturday afternoon brings heavy clouds and heavier footsteps outside my apartment. The knock echoes like a gavel strike. Through the peephole, I see them clustered in the hallway. Mom in her thrifted coat, Dad gripping his leather briefcase, Evan with a stack of papers I recognize as overdue notices. Clara, honey. Mom's voice drips sweetness. We just want to talk. I open the door exactly 3 inches. The security chain, the familiar scent of mom's perfume, tries to pull me back to childhood holidays when I still believed trying harder would make them see me. No. The word comes out calm, like delivering a reference answer. I start to close the door. Wait! Evan thrusts the overdue notices toward the gap. You can't just. The door clicked shut with quiet finality. I've been paying your bills for 7 years. My voice carries through the solid wood, clear and measured. Years of calming, anxious patrons have taught me the power of a steady tone. You've been taking my money while treating me like an obligation. Mom's intake of breath sounds sharp. That's not fair, honey. We've always. I won't fund my own exclusion anymore. Silence stretches between us like a flat line on a monitor. Dad clears his throat. This isn't like you, Clara. A laugh bubbles up, surprising in its lightness. Through the door, I say what decades of silence have buried. You never knew who I was. Their footsteps retreat down the hallway, leaving only the whisper of papers sliding under my door. Payment demands, guilt wrapped in legalese, the price they assumed I'd keep paying to belong. I gather the papers without reading them, add them to my documentation file, and return to reviewing patron requests. Outside my window, rain has stopped falling. The late afternoon sun breaks through, setting the wet landscape ablaze with unexpected light. My phone buzzes with a text from Mrs. Jensen's granddaughter. Thank you for sitting with Gran today. She said you made her feel heard. I touch the screen gently, a smile tugging at my lips. Some debts don't need to be paid to be worth something. Some family you choose, and some lightness only comes after you stop carrying other people's weights. The next day, the archive corridor stretches before me, gleaming under fluorescent lights. I pause at the reference desk, signing off on Mrs. Harper's updated research plan. Talia, one of our newer assistants, glances up from her computer. Miss Elliott, your parents stopped by earlier. I didn't know they lived in Salem, too. My pen stills against the form. They don't. The words come out quieter than intended. They needed something. Talia's eyes widen slightly, but she says nothing. The silence fills with understanding I never wanted to give. I focus on my signature, each letter precise and controlled. Down the hall, Mr. Fuentes waves from his study nook. His thin face brightens as I approach. Miss Elliott, look what my grandchildren sent. He holds up a handmade card covered in stickers and wobbly letters. They're coming to visit next month. I lean against his desk, smiling at his joy. Here, in these quiet moments with patrons who value presence over performance, I find the belonging my family never offered. The morning passes in a familiar rhythm of requests and consultations. During my lunch break, Nina from circulation appears in the staff lounge, holding a cream-colored envelope. This came for you. She sets it beside my salad from a Lila Jensen. My stomach tightens at the name. I open the envelope carefully, unfolding a single sheet of heavy stationery. Dear Ems Elliott, you didn't just save my great-uncle's research project last November. If you made him feel alive again. The way he lights up talking about you. The archivist who listened, who remembered his stories about teaching in the 1950s, who treated him like a person instead of a problem to solve. The Clara they describe at family gatherings and the archivist I met that day at the archive, they're two different people. Or maybe they're the same person seen through very different eyes. I'm sorry they couldn't see what was right in front of them all these years. With gratitude and regret, Lila. The paper trembles slightly in my hands. I read it 3 times before standing to grab the simple black frame from my desk. The letter slots in perfectly, edges aligned with careful precision. I position it next to my library certification. These twin testimonies to who I am when no one is trying to make me smaller. That afternoon, a local reporter interviews me for a feature on community archives. I speak about preserving history, about listening to patron stories, about honoring the full lives behind each request. The article runs the following week, my photo alongside quotes about compassionate service and patron advocacy. My colleagues share it online. Comments flood in from families of former patrons. Miss Elliott saved my father's legacy while saving his work. She gave my mother back her voice when others had stopped listening. A month later, the story circulates through Salem's tight-knit community. At his latest photo exhibition, Evan stands alone by his prints. Our parents find their usual social circles suddenly busy with other commitments. Their carefully curated image of the perfect family splinters under the weight of whispered questions about the archivist's daughter they never mention. I didn't attend the exhibition. I'm volunteering at the local history center, helping Mr. Navarro compose an email to his estranged daughter. His gnarled fingers hover over the keyboard. 15 years. He shakes his head slowly. Pride cost me 15 years with my child. Don't let it take that from you, Miss Elliot. This isn't pride, I answer softly. This is knowing my worth. Later that night, an email arrives from my mother, the timestamp showing she's been writing and rewriting it for hours. Dearest Clara, we miss you. Your father keeps saying the house feels empty without you dropping by with your fruit tart. We never meant to hurt you. Can't we start over? Families should stick together. Also, dear, could you please speak to Lila about taking down that social media post? Evan's having trouble booking new clients. His career is at stake. Love, Mom. No mention of the Harvest Festival, no acknowledgement of 7 years of financial support, no recognition that families should stick together rings hollow when they couldn't make room for me at their table. The email goes to the archive, unanswered. Outside my window, spring rain dusts the sidewalks. I think of Mr. Navarro typing slowly to bridge 15 years of silence, of Margaret Jensen, whose great uncle still talks about the archivist who listened, of all the small kindnesses that build real connections, and all the grand gestures that never filled the hollow space where family should have been. My phone buzzes with a text from Marianne, my mentor in archival studies. Yeah, saw the article. You're changing lives here, Clara. Proud to work alongside you. I touch the framed letter on my desk, then my library certification beside it. The rain falls silently, covering old tracks, leaving clean pages for new stories to unfold. Some say blood is thicker than water. But what happens when that blood runs thin with conditions, expectations, demands? What happens when family treats you like nothing until they need something? I've learned that walking away isn't always an ending. Sometimes it's the first step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. A month later, sun glints off stacks of fresh apricots at the Salem Farmers Market. I adjust my canvas shopping bag, filled with local jam and spring greens, while Miss Marian Thompson tells me about her grandson's first steps. The morning air carries hints of popcorn and fresh pastries, mingling with violin music from a street performer nearby. A sudden hush from my colleagues breaks through our conversation. My spine stiffens before I see them. Some warnings don't need words. Clara, what a coincidence! Mother's voice rings out, bright as a new penny. She weaves between produce stands, Dad trailing behind her like a shadow. Their presence feels wrong here in my Saturday sanctuary, like discovering a snake in your garden. Dad's eyes fix on my shopping bag. The last time he looked at me directly was 7 years ago, when I handed him the first rent check. Evan hangs back by a display of tulips, shoulders hunched. A woman beside him examines organic spinach carefully, not watching our family tableau. We've been trying to reach you, honey. Mother steps forward, arms outstretched for a hug I won't return. Her perfume, same one since 1987, threatens to overwhelm the market's honest sense of earth and vegetables. Marianne's hand brushes my elbow, a silent signal. I'm here. Your father's barbecuing next Sunday. Mother smooths her cotton blouse, a gesture I recognize from countless family photographs. We expect you at 5. Not an invitation, an announcement. The old Clara would have nodded, would have shown up with a bottle of wine and an aching smile, desperate to prove her worth. No, the word falls between us like a stone in still water. Don't be difficult, Clara. Mother's voice drops to a stage whisper. We're trying to make things right. Are you? The question comes out calm, professional, the same tone I use discussing archive policies with patrons. When did you decide that? when Evan's client contracts dried up, when Dad's tennis friends started asking questions. That's not fair. Evan steps forward, abandoning his tulip sanctuary. This isn't the place. You're right. I meet his gaze. The place was the Harvest Festival when you uninvited me because I was too serious for your girlfriend. The place was when Dad called my archive suggesting I needed mental health leave, a sharp intake of breath from Marianne. This is news to her. The place was 7 years ago when I started paying your rent. My voice carries across displays of organic jam and handmade bread, and funded Evan's studio and covered Mom's hip surgery. Heads turn, whispers ripple through the market crowd. Mother's tears start right on schedule. How can you embarrass us like this in public? I feel Marianne shift closer to my shoulder. Two more colleagues materialize nearby, a quiet wall of cardigans and lanyards, my chosen family moving into formation. I'm not embarrassing you. The truth flows easy now, like clean water from a spring. I'm telling the truth. You couldn't find room for me at the Harvest Festival, but you found time to call my workplace and suggest I was unstable. You excluded me from family photos, but cashed my checks every month. This isn't like you, Dad says, his first words of the morning. You're making a scene. A laugh bubbles up, surprising me with its lightness. You never knew me, Dad. You never tried. What do you want from us? Evan's voice cracks. The same break I heard when he called about the Harvest Festival. Only now there's fear underneath. Fear of empty bank accounts and unpaid bills. Nothing. The word tastes like freedom. I don't need to be invited back into a family that never valued me. I've found people who see me for who I am. I glance at my colleagues, these people who trust my judgment and value my quiet ways. That's what family should be. The sun warms my face as I turn away. Violin music fills the air again. A vendor calls out about fresh apricots. The market returns to life around us, reality rushing back into the space where our family fiction finally crumbled. Marian falls into step beside me as I walk toward the heirloom green stand. Her silence speaks volumes, the kind of quiet support I never found at home. Behind us, I hear Mother's voice rising. Clara Marie Elliott, don't you dare walk away. But I'm already gone. My steps light, my back straight, my heart beating steady and strong. The truth weighs nothing at all. A year later, on Harvest Festival Eve, rain drifts past my window, each drop catching the glow of white festival lights. The scent of lavender, pear fruit, tart wafts through my apartment, rich and sweet, mingling with fresh cedar from the mantle garland in the corner. Light reflects off vintage ceramic ornaments, casting warm shadows across framed photographs, moments captured with patrons, colleagues, friends who became more. Lila's letter sits on my shelf, framed in simple silver. Her words about my great uncle's care face outward, a daily reminder that sometimes strangers see us more clearly than family ever could. The gentle tap of knuckles against my front door breaks the quiet. Come in, I call, sliding another fruit tart into the oven. The door opens to familiar faces. Talia from cataloging, Mark from digital archives, Marianne from reference services. Their arms overflow with dishes and small gifts. Something smells amazing in here, Missy, Talia says, setting down a glass bowl of pomegranate salad. Her festival sweater sparkles with tiny beads, a holdover from the community history event. More colleagues filter in, filling my once quiet space with gentle chatter and laughter. A timer chimes and I pull out the fruit tart, golden brown and perfect. The ritual soothes me. This time, I'm cooking for people who choose to be here. Clara! A soft voice cuts through the noise. Margaret Jensen stands in my doorway, leaning on her cane, but stronger than last Harvest Festival. Her gray hair catches the light, expertly styled for the occasion. You made it. I cross the room, taking her jacket. The cane clicks against hardwood as she settles into the armchair I've saved specially for her. Wouldn't miss it. Margaret pats my hand. To think a year ago I was stuck in that reading room, certain it would be my last festival. And now look at you, she grins, adjusting the blue shawl around her shoulders. All thanks to the archivist, who saw me as a person, not just another request. The doorbell rings again. I open it to find Lena, a young assistant, shifting from foot to foot in the chill. Sorry I'm late. The drive from the evening shift was slippery. You came straight from work. She nods, unwinding her scarf. Wouldn't skip your festival gathering after what you did for me during that whole mess with my parents? Her voice trails off, but I understand. We gather around my dining table, mismatched chairs squeezed in tight. Stories flow between bites of ham and spoonfuls of fruit tart. Margaret shares tales from her teaching days in the 1950s. Marianne describes her grandmother's secret chutney recipe. Lena talks about learning to build her own traditions after walking away from toxic family patterns. Sometimes I wonder, Lena admits, pushing pomegranate seeds around her plate, if I did the right thing setting those boundaries. The table goes quiet. They all know pieces of my story now, whispered in break rooms or shared over late-night coffee. Sometimes the family we choose sees us more clearly than the family we're born into, I say, the words rising from a place of peace rather than pain. That's what I've learned this year. A knock at the door interrupts the murmurs of agreement. Margaret's eyes sparkle with something knowing as I rise to answer it. Her granddaughter stands on my welcome mat, cheeks pink from cold. I brought someone who wanted to meet you. She steps aside to reveal Lila, holding a small gift wrapped in silver paper. I hope it's okay, Lila says. I've been wanting to thank you properly for everything with great uncle. The silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken understanding. Then I step back, opening the door wider. There's plenty of fruit tart. Lila settles into our gathering like she belongs there. When she mentions her recent separation from Evan, no one offers empty platitudes. These people understand that sometimes walking away is an act of self-respect. Your great uncle asks about you, she tells me later, as others chat over coffee and dessert. He says you saved more than his research that day in the archive. You showed him what strength really looks like. I think of the brother who couldn't make room for me at his table, the parents who took my support while withholding their acceptance. A text lights up my phone. Happy Harvest Festival. We miss you. From Mom. No manipulation this time. No veiled requests for money or reconciliation. I set the phone aside without responding, turning back to the warm circle of my teaching days. Her hands painting pictures in the air, Lena leans forward, entranced. Talia adds her own archive tales, while Mark groans at the research humor. These people see my quiet strength, the dedication, the heart beneath the professional exterior. They don't need me to be louder or lighter or different. They pull up chairs to my table, bring dishes to share, and understand that family means making room for who someone truly is. I used to think love meant being the one who stayed late, who fixed everything, who never needed thanks. But real love doesn't make you beg for a place at the table, and a family that only values you for what you give was never family to begin with. Looking around my living room at these faces lit by festival lights and warmed by connection, I finally understand. Sometimes the hardest act of self-respect is recognizing when to walk away and when to build something new. Something real. The rain continues to fall outside my window, each drop finding its own path to the ground. Inside, laughter rings against my walls, and the scent of lavender and pear wraps around us like a promise. I've found my way home at last. Plans are moved by Clara's journey to reclaim her worth. If you were uninvited by family who took your support for granted, how would you respond? Would you walk away, confront them, or build a new circle of belonging? Share your approach below and connect with others navigating their own paths. Follow for more tales of courage and renewal.